Thank you for joining us here. We got a great show today. We got some good stuff to cover. Finish getting set up here. Perfect. All right, let's do this. Hello and welcome to Designer's Corner. We're here for another week. We're here for another week of Google. Today we'll be tackling some themes. Themes in Google. That's what we're going to be covering. My name is Josh. I am a UX designer and I've been in the business for over a decade now, so I'll be your guide on this tour. Feel free to ask me whatever questions, leave comments, all that kind of stuff. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Make sure you go to Twitter. That's where you'll see any updates and stuff like that at Designer's Corner. Go ahead and click after the presentation. We'll have the presentation link in the bio, in the description. So go ahead and click the Twitter link and go to the page. Sign up for that. Make sure you don't miss a tweet. We're also on Discord. So go ahead and contact our Discord community. We'll get the link out to you there as well. And then you can ask any questions, get help, give your feedback, all that kind of stuff. New check-in system as always. So go to Twitter, like and retweet the post for this week, and you'll get credit for having shown up. So, to jump right into it, last week in recap, we went over some Google Slides, and we took a look at some of the themes, some of the abilities that we have in Google Slides, creating text, creating shapes, all that kind of stuff. We're going to get into more of that this week again. So we have Photoshop and Google Slides under our belt now. So go ahead, celebrate. Remember, we're learning these programs, and as such, we're able to tell other people that we know something about these. It's going to make you a more valuable candidate down the line, and you'll be able to apply to different jobs. You'll be able to take new positions. You'll be able to, just jump into different projects based on your ability and your skills that you're learning here for any of these programs. And a lot of this stuff is going to, overlap. It's like cross-training, So CrossFit. So we're going to, learn the basic concepts of each of these different programs. We're not going to get too deep into the weeds of any one specific one. We're just going to kind of cover the natural progression of learning design within these programs. So, design exercise of the week. Question, thought occurred to me. Oh, where did it go? Why is it not showing up? Let me refresh this, see if it shows up. Okay, there we go. For some reason it wasn't showing up. So, which one is bigger, a pixel or a point? That's the question. Which is bigger, a pixel or a point? And as we have the votes coming in, the answer, go into full screen mode again. For some reason it doesn't want to show up in full screen mode. I don't know why. Oh, there it is. Oh, there's an animation on it. Got it. Which is bigger, pixel or point? Well, the answer is 1 pixel is usually around 1/96th of an inch, whereas a point is 1/72nd. So as the GIF is saying, what does that mean? What was that? How does that help us? In short, to put it in a ratio, it's about a 1 to a 1/3 ratio, where the point is a little bit bigger than the pixel. It's about a third bigger than the pixel. So now you know. So this week in Designer's Corner, we're getting into Google themes. We're going to take a look at the benefit of themes. And as such, we have reusable elements. Reusable elements allow us to get a running head start to whatever project we're tackling. So for that, instead of having to recreate all your assets every single time, instead of having to recreate your layouts, you're going to be further ahead based on reusing a layout theme. So that helps us a lot. Instead of running headfirst into a wall every single time, we'll be able to reuse components, layouts, all that kind of stuff It'll save us a lot of time, a lot of hassle, a lot of headache. We're going to ensure uniformity too. So instead of having to redo every single slide, having to measure every single pixel, having to recreate the little elements and flourishes that you might put on. For example, this slide here has a title, a divider line, and then some body copy there. Now, for the theme of this slide, a lot of the slides will have those elements, and not only will they have them, they'll be consistent throughout, so that your text isn't jumping here and there. A lot of times, especially when you're doing design work as a designer, you'll notice those marginally fractional, differences between pixels, especially as you're flipping through different screens and going through the flow or the journey. You'll be able to see as text is jumping around ever so slightly, and it's really jarring and it really hurts the presentation. It's much better to have something that's supposed, if this were built into a website or an app, in code, it would stay where it is, moving from area to area. That's what we want to present as well in any of our presentations, any of our designs. We'll also get real-time updates when we use themes. So for that, we can look toward fonts, we can look toward colors, there are theme colors, and we can look toward layouts. So the layouts are what I just explained. Things will stay in place, moving from slide to slide, but you also get theme colors as well. And updating the theme color will reflect throughout the entire presentation for anything that's using that particular color, that particular theme color. You also have fonts. So for the fonts, maybe you have a corporate font or a brand font that you're trying to use, and instead of allowing people to use their own fonts or having them guess at what the fonts are that we're using, we'll be able to place some fonts on the screen for them, and then if you're sharing this presentation with anyone else who's going to also add to it or anything like that, they too can reuse the theme slides. They can access that stuff and then have access to the fonts that we're using, so that's always uniform. So when we're looking at themes, we're looking at inheritance. One of the things that we inherit is the color palette. As I was saying, it takes the guessing work out of creating a slide or a presentation, because we're able to customize that stuff, and we'll take a look at that. We'll see what that entails as well. Also, we have guidelines. Guidelines will help us to place our images on the canvas, and if it's an image or a text or anything like that. So let us go and get into a little bit of this. Change scene here. So now we have our theme. Well, this isn't the theme yet. This is an example PowerPoint. What we're going to do is we're going to build this. This is the back end, and this is the theme. It starts with the master, and it has various layouts here. And these will stay consistent throughout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy. Actually, I'm going to make a new one, sorry. New presentation. We're going to get started and do this all on our own here. So, when you start out with a theme, or when you start with a Google presentation, you'll have some themes that are selectable on the side. Now, these may or may not fit your taste. Within each of these, there'll be multiple elements that you can assign, and if you have your own preference, let's say that our corporate brand is not mint green and blue or anything like that, you are able to go in to view theme builder and then go in and change these things. So to start out with, let's take a look at the theme colors. So if I click on one of these elements, so this item happens to be grouped, it's grouped with all of these, and then I'll click again to click into the individual element. I'll have my fill color. That's up at the top. Just make sure you can see it. All right, great. So now, if you see the focus, now focus is the name of this theme. And so I have as my colors, theme color, you know, yada yada. Then there's one that's kind of black. It's close to dark gray. It says white, a gray, a mint, a blue, yellow, dark gray here, peach, lavender, and orange. Right now, this block element, and as well, many of the block elements throughout this theme are using that same mint green. So let me go ahead and in my color palette, in my themes, I'm going to edit theme colors. It's the little pencil across from the name of the theme that we're looking at. Edit theme, and then it will ask us on the side if we want to choose one of the elements that we desire to edit. And so now I can go ahead and change this, and not only will this change reflect in real time, it will reflect across all of the different slides. So before, all of these trapezoids were mint green, now they're all orange. And let's say that my other color, the blue over here, let me change which theme color I'm editing. Instead of text and background 4, let me go to accent 1, because that's what this one happens to be using. And if you don't know, you can come into the paint bucket and then hover over it, and it'll say theme. It doesn't actually tell you which one it is based on just hovering over it, so you kind of have to just kind of eyeball it, I guess. It's also listed not in order. Or is it in order? I think it is. Yes, it is. So it is listed in order: the black, the white, the gray, the orange, the blue. So again, over here, the black, the white, the gray, the orange, and the blue. So just go into the drop down, select it, and then let's say that this one is, red. So now, again, I was able to change that, and it reflects across everything. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool for what we're doing and what we want to see from an easy to update source or program. You know, it saves us a lot of hassle and headache. Instead of having to go through and manually select, double clicking into each of these objects, change the color. So this time I'm going to pick a color that's not part of the theme selection. So the theme is just this row of colors. So with just this top row of colors, I can select across the theme colors, and anytime that I update those themes, the update will reflect in any element that's using that theme color. Otherwise, here's your general color palette, and you can still make your edits to any of these based on the general color palette. And so now if I go into, it's currently using the text and background orange for most of the trapezoids. If I change that to this mint green again, let's say that I want to go back to it. Now my overrides are still active here. So this one's still pink, purple pink. But everywhere else, my trapezoid, the one that was mint green before, and I've changed it back to a mint green, is mint green again. So that's working pretty well, and that's what we want to see. Those overrides, they help us to be able to do fancier stuff. But I don't want any of this, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into my theme. Let me just go ahead and I'm going to pick Simple Light. So now with Simple Light, this is a pretty, open-ended theme, not much to it. We have the master slide, and so for this, I'm going to delete all my slides. Not exactly all of them, because you need to keep one, but I'm going to otherwise delete all of them. So the slides are a bit finicky, so sometimes for duplicating, you have to actually right-click and duplicate. If you're going to reuse a slide layout, you can't just click on it and copy-paste. You might be able to copy-paste. Let's see if you can. Okay, you can copy-paste, but you can't always just press a short key for duplicate, and you can't otherwise delete, but you can copy paste and it will change the name just slightly, etc. But right now I'm going to delete all of it. This should work, but I don't know why it's not working. So it shouldn't be able to delete every single one of them. Let's see. Theme. Delete everything there. Would like to delete everything here if it'll allow me to. But it's not allowing me to. Alright, let me go ahead. I'm just gonna make a new one again. New presentation. And it should already have theme light attached to it. That's just a given. Okay. For some reason this time it worked. I don't know why it didn't work on this other one. Are there any that are you currently using? No. Alright. Don't know why it didn't work on this one, but we'll just start anew again. So, alright, so File, New, Blank Slate, go into View, Theme Builder, and then select all the slides, delete them. Gonna select my master up here. Actually, let me keep this master for the moment. I'll keep the text on it. And instead, what we're going to do now is start building out the previous theme that we saw. So previously in our theme, we started out with this nice looking slide, and we also had some other slides that do some fancy stuff. We had a gray background, this other background with salmon color with a border around it, this diagonal slant, one with a border around it, and this line underneath it. And we'll probably get rid of the border. I think I'll take that out for now. I'll get rid of this little thing. And then a thank you slide. So we're going to cover some of this stuff. And to show you how to do it, first we'll go on to our first layout slide. We'll go ahead and delete whatever's there, because what I want to do is come up to the top and create a new shape. With that shape, I'm going to just grab a square, drag it out. Alright, so now I have my square, and I can come up to the top, and instead of doing simple light here, first of all, I'm going to rename theme. So by right-clicking on the left side panel, let me do that one more time. Simple light, I'm going to right-click on this and click on rename theme, and I'm going to call this my theme. Alright, so now we're working in my theme, and the slides so far are named my theme, the master theme slide, and my theme title slide. So we're working on the title slide so far. Now, before we get too deep into the weeds, one of the things that we want to do is understand the size of our artboard here, because quickly we're going to start working with some guides. So I'm going to still keep these, and what we can do to understand the size of our layout, we can go to File, down to Page Setup, and it'll show you wide 16 by 9, but you can click on that and go to Custom, and it will show you 10 by 5.63. So that's in inches. There's also centimeters, points, pixels if you want to change that increment. But for right now, I'll just keep it inches. And this lets us know exactly, because otherwise it's a little difficult to tell from the rulers just at the top and on the side of the screen. But knowing that information now we can place some of our rulers a little bit better, some of our guides. And so, to start out, now that we've kind of covered that quickly, I'm going to also delete this little hashtag in the corner. So now we have a completely blank slate except for the square that I drew a second ago. And if you place it, you'll be able to see your guidelines showing up. So that's one way to place it in the center. If you don't, if you have a shaky hand and you can't exactly catch that, go ahead and go up to Arrange, Center on Page, Center horizontally, and in this case I'll center vertically as well. And so now I have my square placed directly in the center of the screen. But it's a light gray square, and this isn't really my theme color. Let me go ahead and go into my theme color, and let's go ahead and pick some colors. So my theme, go across from it where it says where it's the pencil icon, edit theme colors, and then I can go ahead and start editing some of these colors. A good option or choice is to keep a black, so this one's black, keep a white. These are pretty standard colors. You'll probably use them for a lot of your text, and then later if we decide that we don't want our text to be white, we want our text to be blue, it will change easily. So a black and a white. I think we'll keep the gray. We'll keep one of the grays, the text and background 4. I'll make that just a little bit darker. So that's what our square was before, but update that so that's a little bit better. And then I'll go ahead and go down to accent 1. So now this time I'm going to go in and we'll start grabbing our colors that we saw before. So let's go ahead and grab the color. It is DD7E6B. So that was the coral color that we had before. I'm also going to go to accent 2. This one is 1E63D5. And you can select whatever colors you want. I just happen to have some colors that I selected for this previously. And it's not that important to in my case, we only used probably a gray and a coral, but I'm just kind of going through just to show the different selections. Got to make sure to move around and select the accent color that you want to change before you actually use your next value. Now I've got that. Got a kind of green, minty green kind of color. I'm gonna go with the red as well. This one is C20,000. Let me just copy and paste that so it's not. Alright. That'll be another color that we use. And you can go through and finish out the rest with whatever colors you want. I think that's good enough for what we're working with at the moment. So now, if I want to, I can go ahead and change this gray square to my coral color. And I can take off the stroke. For some reason, Google Slides gives you a stroke on all of your shapes whenever you create them. So we can go ahead and get rid of that. It's terrible, but they probably want to make it user-friendly so that people won't get too confused if they need a stroke but don't already have it on. And first thing we're going to do, I'm going to create a title placeholder, and I'm going to place that right here. So now, let's go back for a minute before we continue. And let's continue looking at the presentation to understand, what we're working with here. So, we'll get into rulers and guides in a second. We already see the rulers along the top edge of the screen, but we'll get into placing them based on the artboard, and we'll get a little more into all of that. We'll also understand how the master guide transfers. So guidelines added to the master slide are going to go, transfer throughout all the slides. The other ones, the other guidelines that we place per slide are going to be individual to the layout slide itself. So once we understand that, let us go ahead and look at inheritance. So inheritance is something that will happen with the fonts based on the master slide, and we can have the fonts of the layout slides update based on the master slide. So just to show you that now, we can go back. So now I have placed this text here, but this, Arial, I don't want a default font. I want to add my own font. So I can go ahead and click on this title font. It's giving me the master slide is giving me a title and a body. I can go ahead and click on the title, which is Arial 28. And if you notice, there's similarity, Arial 28 on the layout slide. Let me go ahead and I'm going to update this to Montserrat Alternates Black. Now, if you're following along, you don't have this, you can go into this first option when you click on the fonts and go to the A+, more fonts, and it will show you what fonts you already have installed. These are Google fonts, as well as it'll have them checked on the left side as well. But if you need them, you can go ahead and search for them just by scrolling if you're just looking for any font that might catch your eye. Or again, you can go ahead and search for them with the top search bar. You can click on it and then it will add it. So let me just click on Montez over here and you can just press OK. So now it's updated that. And not only is it updated on the master slide, it's updated on the layout slide. So let me go ahead and actually change this to what I want it to be. This will be Montserrat Alternate Black. And in this case, what I had was I wanted this to be 38. So I can either change it on the master slide, and let me go ahead and change it to 38 here. And if you notice in the thumbnail on the left hand side, let me undo and redo that one more time. Watch the thumbnail. It's updating on the various layers. So if I have an idea of a size that I want all my titles to be, then I can go ahead and update that on the master slide, and it will update on the various layout slides that we have. In this case, let me go ahead and make this one smaller. So for the first layout slide that I have, I am going to style this individually from the master slide. So here, let me go ahead and bump this up. I want it to be 38. Pretty good size. You go ahead and click on both of these items. You can either drag over both of them, or you can click individual items like a fool, like I am, but dragging is much easier if you can just check those. And then I'm going to just center. So go to Arrange, Align, and Center. And then from there, let me go ahead one more time. So in my other design, I had both this square, and let me go ahead and make a copy of it. I'm going to align this square to the other one. If you're shaky on it, go ahead and grab both of your squares, arrange, align, center. Let me go ahead and do this instead. So sometimes when you have these types of dilemmas where one shape is not aligned with another shape, especially if you want to not move a shape, in some programs you may have the option to lock a shape, and locking may or may not lock the position of it. It might only lock it and prevent you from editing the shape. So in this case, we're going to get a little bit fancy. We want to center the one block onto the other block, but since they're the same size, we're going to instead left align it. So the block that's on the right is going to move to the left, and then we're going to align it to the top. So this way, the block that was right and down from the centered block, from the centered square, we want to move that to the left and up without moving the position of the original square. Technically, we could probably, select both of these and go to center on page and just click on those and blah, blah, blah. But in case I was working with a shape that was perhaps, up in the top right corner, and I wanted to align one shape, let me just go ahead and change the color of this, one shape to another shape like that, I can still do the same type of methodology, align and move it to the right, move the green one over, and then arrange, align, top. So now the green one is sitting on top, and we can have that type of control just by thinking about where stuff is positioned. Let me go ahead and delete those. So now I've got one square on top of another square, and I will add a border to this one, and I will change the weight of it to 4, get rid of its fill, so click on the paint bucket, go down to transparency, and in this case I'm going to just hold Control and Shift, and it will proportionally edit, scale the one shape, and I'm going to drag it downward, and I'm also going to, I know what size I want my my text to be, so let me go ahead and Control and Shift. So this is, Control is scaling it out in both directions, and holding Shift, adding Shift to that, so Control and Shift will allow it to scale in both directions proportionally. So now I have a square with a stroke kind of design around it and some text in the middle. And let me go ahead and, in this case, and let me show you this. So the interesting part, even though our fill is transparent, this square is still sitting on top of the other stuff. So if I were to try to click on this text, which is underneath the square, even though the square is transparent fill, Google still registers that it's on top. So what I need to do instead, I can either bump the stroked square, the outline, down, or I can move the text to the top, so I do have a little bit of space to kind of grab that text there. Pressing escape will bring me out of the text editing mode and bring me back up to the bounding box mode. I'm going to press Control Shift and move this up with the up arrow, so Control Shift and the up arrow. And now if you notice, the L, you can see it on the style here, the word style has moved above the border, that white border. So now that's working for me. Let me grab my text and go ahead and change the color. So now I'll have some white text on this coral square. All right, that's working very well. But maybe we want to get a little bit fancier. So now we have, let's go back to our design, our presentation. So now we have our square. If for some reason it has a white stroke around it, it seems. Let me go ahead and get rid of that if I can. Let's see if you guys, yeah, you guys are seeing the white stroke around it too. I don't know why that is. The highlight is off, the stroke is off. Make sure. This is just something we're gonna have to live with at the moment, it looks like. Let's see if it stays even after. Okay, so got it. It's just basically showing me the bounding box of where my general text is. Understood. Okay, so if you notice from the theme builder, let me go back to that. It says this text here, click to edit theme title style. And if I click on it and try to type something, it types absolutely nothing. It doesn't do anything for us. That's not helpful. That's not working. But what we can still do is come out of the theme builder and instead update the text here. So the theme allows us to place text where we want it to go, but it doesn't allow us to edit based on the placeholder. So a placeholder will put some text there that you saw, the click to edit the title style, and then we can edit that based on our actual presentation. And that's cool, that's good, because that keeps our style and that keeps all of our slides consistent. So every single time that I want to create this, I'll be able to come into here and change it. And not only that, I can update even more properties of it. Let's say that I want to decrease the line height spacing and just decrease that to 0.7. Let's try. All right, a little tight, a little cramped. Let's try 0.8 instead. But now we've created the style. And let's say that this is the wrong way to do this. I can go back to my theme builder, click on the line height here, go ahead and change that to 0.8, and now it's moved this text item based on the changes that I made. Let me move this down so that one line will look like that, two lines will look like so forth, third line will be where style is. So instead, if I've messed this up and I've completely thrown off my layout, what I can do, right click on empty space on the slide, or if you want, you can right click on the thumbnail for the slide, go to apply layout, and then click on the one that you'd like to apply, and it will bring back not only the elements that you're looking for, so it'll bring back everything as I placed it on the theme builder, but also it kept the text change that I made. So I changed the text from click here to edit the title slide, and I made that my company. It recognizes that it was a title placeholder, and it recognized that I already changed that title placeholder's text to my company. Now it kept that text but brought back the elements exactly where they were in my theme layout, in my theme builder. So that's really cool. That really helped us, because not only did I really mess up by shifting the text and moving it around in a way that was not on corporate brand, but I was able to easily, just by 2 clicks, bring back the style that I wanted, and that really helped. So now what I can do is continue building this theme. Let's go ahead and make another slide. Actually, before we do, I forgot. I want to also add some flourish to this theme over here, and what I want to create is some little crosshairs. So I'll make a rectangle, copy it by, in this case I'm holding Control, or you would probably hold Option on a Mac. And I'm just going to place, by doing that, I'll hold the key, Control on Windows, Option on a Mac, click and drag, and that will create a new instance or copy. And so I want to position these crosshairs kind of in the upper left-hand corner here. I want to make it about, so in this case I'm going to drag out this guide, and with this I'm going to place it 20 from the top. So if you click and drag on the ruler up here, it will bring out a guideline, and that guideline will help you to be able to style your presentation. But you don't always get the best control with it. So as you're dragging, I think it's Control on or Command on Mac, might be Option, I don't recall right now, but if you hold Alt on Windows, it will allow you to move incrementally. So instead of Google snapping where it would like to, in this case it moved from 42, I think it saw 45, 46, 50, 53, 54. So it kind of has a mind of its own as it's calculating that. But if I hold Alt as I'm dragging, it will give me a little more control. So now I'm going to place one horizontal guide, 20 from the top of our canvas, and I'm going to drag another one out, and it lets me know where it is based on the numbers. And again, holding Alt, going to drag it 20 from the side, and clicking Control, Option, and plus. now that I've got these going, let me go ahead and bring up the hotkeys so that we can actually see what I'm clicking. So with the hotkeys, I'll let you know in just a second. Not showing up. Go ahead and try one more time. There's a way that I can get the keys to show on screen, but it's not showing at the moment. So we'll just have to live with what we have for right now. But what we have is by pressing Control, Alt, and plus or minus, we're able to zoom in and zoom out. Let me go ahead and fix this, because of whatever happened. Threw off the layout for some reason. Alright, give me one moment. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that. I don't know what happened, but we're back again. Technical difficulties, as it were. All right, so what we were trying to do was take these two crosshairs and place them in the corner. We're going to place them in the top left and the bottom right corner. Be able to do that by moving in, scrolling over to the left, and grabbing our crosshair, moving it where we like it to be. Second one, move it to where we would like it to be. In this case, I'm just going to eyeball it. There's no need at this point to do too many guidelines. Just kind of going to move it to somewhere that feels comfortable, feels nice. The reason that we don't need to have more guidelines, if we wanted to, we can drag out another guideline to keep, these two kind of in their place. But what we're going to do is make it a little bit simpler. So first off, I'm going to take off the stroke. Click on the stroke pencil edit button and click on transparent. Great, it's gone. Change it to my theme color. It's going to be coral. Great, now it's there. So now we're going to have a conundrum. Press Control, Option, and the left bracket key. It's the one that's probably below the backspace, just below the backspace and a little inward of the keyboard. So now we're going to have a slight problem. What I want to do is take these crosshairs, and if you have trouble clicking on stuff while the guides are there, go ahead and either zoom in, Control Option or Control Alt, and click on the plus or minus. In this case, it's plus, and then it will give you a little more control. You'll be able to click on this stuff. So I don't have to click on this over and over again like that. I'm going to already jump ahead and press Control, Alt, or Option G, and that's going to group these. You can also just go to Arrange, and it should give you the option for Control, Alt, G, Group. So I have, because they're already grouped, I have the option to ungroup. Just group them. All right. So now they'll stay where they need to be when I move them to the other corner. But again, that's the conundrum. Where is the other corner? So if I drag this out, I can see it'll snap to the edge and show me 10. And toward the bottom, it'll snap to the edge and show me 5.63. Now those are the numbers that we saw when we clicked on File, Page Setup, and we clicked on Custom. So from wide 16.9 to Custom, those are the same numbers that it gave us. So those are the artboard sizes that we're working with. So again, if you haven't caught on, you don't have to work with an artboard, a canvas that's the 16 by 9 parameter or the 10 inch by 5.63. If you needed to use Google Slides for printing, you can actually go in and change that yourself by going in, doing custom, changing it to be a different size. That way you can use it for maybe print. In this case, it also stretched a lot of the elements. But you can use this for print, you can use it for a lot of other things. It doesn't just have to stay 16 by 9 like this, but 16 by 9 is the default. So now that we're thinking about where do we want to put these other elements, I'll have to, in the first place, I put them 20 from the top, 20 from the side. So I can either come over to the side here and try to, once again, drag them. In this case, I'll drag that one to 9.8, which is 20 from the right side. And I could go to, 5.43. In this case, I won't hold the key that will allow me to move incrementally. So as you can see, it's not exactly snapping to 5.43. I could zoom in and it'll give me a more precise, movement that way. I could hold the hotkey Alt or Option. In this case, I think it's different on Mac, but in this case, it's Alt on PC. But just to show you for demonstration purposes, if I right-click on the ruler at the top or at the side, so in this case, actually it doesn't really matter because it'll allow you to do it in both cases. Control-Alt-E, Control-Alt-W, or you can just click on the Edit Guides here, just to show you how this works real quick. You'll be able to hear the clicking. If you want to bring it up with the hotkey, it's Control-Alt-E, Control-Alt-W, and what you do is hold Control-Alt, and then you press E and then W. and you press it in pretty quick succession. So if I do it this way, Control Alt, and then I press E, and then I press W, it won't recognize it as a shortcut because there's too much time that's elapsed. So Control Alt E W, and the entire time I'm just holding Control Alt. So even though it looks like a weird, it's not the normal Control S or Control C, Control V type of scenario, but that's how you use the multiple levels of shortcut there. Now this brings up the edit guides for the layout, and in this case too, I'm going to not do it here, but I'm going to go back to my master slide. So even though I'm still viewing the guidelines, so even though I've dragged out the guides on this slide, the guides are only relevant for this slide. So if I go to my master slide and just drag out, there it is, the center, so 5, because our canvas is 10 width. If I drag out a guideline on the master, let me go back to this one, and you can actually see this guideline. I'm not able to select it anymore because I dragged it from the master, so it's going to be permanent to the layout slide, but it will show up on the layout slide. It will show up on any subsequent slides because I've dragged it from the master. And if I need to, I can go ahead and should give me, if I right click on this guide here, I can go into a bunch of different options here. I can either, because I've clicked on the guide, add a vertical guide, Control Alt E, Control Alt V, add a horizontal guide, Control Alt E, Control Alt H, or I can change the color. So this one's a little hard to see. Let me go, and maybe if I want to recognize any of the guides that I pull out as a master guideline versus a subsequent sub guideline, maybe I do want to change that color. I can do that over here as well. I'll right click on this, I can change this to, let me change this, the hot red isn't, not enough distinction there. Go ahead and change this to this green, I guess. So now we have the master guideline, which is a blue. Not a lot of color contrast, unfortunate. And a yellow would just be, you know, you wouldn't be able to see it. So this one I've changed to gray now, so I can change the guideline color is what I'm getting at. And it can be helpful to kind of keep these guidelines straight in case you're either working with a ton of guidelines moving down the page and you want to either know which one is, let's call this the middle, which one is the middle guideline, that one's blue there, or which one might be a master guideline based on these types of colors. Alright, so I've dragged out a bunch of guidelines and basically I don't like what I've done so far, so let me go into edit guides. And with this edit guides, it's showing me under the vertical tab I have 2 guides, guide 1, guide 2, and it's showing me where they're placed. So I can manually move these around. So let's say that my guide was over at 10, so all the way at the edge of the canvas, it actually moved in real time. And mathematically, if I wanted to move it 20 from the side, that'd be 9.8. So even though I did it manually a second ago, I can do it mathematically as well. I also have the option to change the color for it. I can also go into my horizontal guides. I've made such a mess of them. I don't want this one to be gray. I do want it to be the coral color. Maybe I want it to be this red color down here. So let me go ahead and make that even. Now they're all the same color once again. Actually, I can just do that. Let me make these purple. So making them purple, and they'll update in real time. But I have way more guides than I want, so I can go in and you have to, I believe, kind of eyeball this because they'll come in, I think, in the order that you drag them in, but they won't necessarily be any top to bottom, so you can't just go in and click the first 3 and say those are the ones that, you know, are the topmost and I don't want them. So let me just show you this one here in the middle. I don't want that one. Let me go ahead and delete that. This one here at 147, let me go ahead and delete that. So that one left as well. This one here at 258, let me go ahead and delete that. So now those are gone. This one here, delete that as well. Okay, so now we're working more of a clean slate again. Once again, and let me go ahead and do that one more time just to get rid of, because I don't want any of these horizontal guides. Why? Because they're on the layout slide, the sub slide to the master slide. So instead, let me go ahead and do it here on the master slide. Add new guide. This one will be 0.2. And let me go ahead and add a vertical guide. This one will be 0.2. Okay, great. Left and right, they match up with our crosshairs. Similar thing I'll do with this one over here. Delete this guide on the sub, and instead I'll go to my master and edit the horizontal slide, horizontal guideline, which will be, again, our horizontal is 10, or our horizontal, sorry, is moving. It's the horizontal one, and it's moving from top to bottom. So our top to bottom width, and it gave me a warning here, is 5.63. For some reason, it gives me a warning too if I type in 5.63, but I don't know why that is. It should recognize that as fine. Either way, I want to make it 20 from, so 0.2, subtract 0.2 from the 6, so that makes 5.43. All right, that's 0.20 from the bottom, and same thing for the side. Do the vertical, our width is 10, do it 9.8, and great. Now we have our guide set up. We'll go back to the slide, select this object. If I try to, I'm a little too close to these guides to comfortably be able to click and copy this, click and drag a copy. So I'm just going to press Control C, Control V. That'll paste the copy. It pastes it a little bit off to the side. That's kind of good. It's a little bit annoying from Google standards. Some of the programs will allow you to paste in front or to paste right on top of some of the other things. Google does not allow you to do that. I think they're trying to idiot proof it so no one thinks that, you know, they're not getting the copy that they're looking for. But now I'll drag that over to the bottom corner. Now let's go back to our regular and let's get rid of these guides for the moment. So now this is what my main slide, you know, the cover slide for any of my presentations is looking like. And it's looking pretty snazzy. So now, you know, all these elements which were created on the master slide, or rather the theme builder, not the master itself, but one of the layout slides, particularly this one right here. We have another slide in there. One is called title slide, the other one's called custom slide, custom layout 1. But we built this out, and so all the elements, the rectangles that we've drawn, those are not editable anymore. Only the text, the title placeholder, is editable. And that's pretty good for us because now we won't run into an issue if we ever share this document, if we need to make another slide. Let's make a brand new slide here. And we'll take that theme, and it placed all the elements that we wanted exactly where we would want to see them if we're making another copy of this for our presentation. So going back, here we go. Let's try and breeze through this as quickly as we can. So let's say we want, again, for our layout, we're going to do a gray background. So for that, let me go ahead and change the background color. Right click on it, change background. Let me go ahead and grab my gray. So now it's a gray background color, and that looks pretty nice. Looks like what I'm looking for. And I'm going to also go ahead and grab, I'm going to create another stroke like this to kind of keep in line with some of the themes. So let me go ahead and grab my shape. I can drag out a shape. Right now it has a fill to it. I'll make the fill transparent. I'll give it a white stroke. I'll increase the border size. So now, based on this, I'm able to have a border around this, and it will be a flourish. It will be some kind of nice little addition to this. And give me just one moment. I'll be right back. So now, back in our theme build, or back at our presentation level, right click on the empty space, apply layout, and here's that layout that we just created a second ago. Gray background, white border. The border is not editable, but the text is. So let me go into our theme builder again. We're going to see that a lot. So from now on, just assume if I make just a regular shape, then it's going to be a regular shape. I can put in placeholders if I would like to. And let me go ahead and push this to the back. So I can push our stroke all the way to the back because the background, the gray, is based on the slide itself. I can either choose a gray, I can even choose an image if I wanted to. Let's go ahead and choose a Google image, dog, just to show you what this looks like. First one, insert. Great. So if I wanted to add an image like that, I can do it. In this case, I'll keep it gray. Here's our text. And for some reason, the text is not styled as we might like it. We already changed our placeholder text, so let me go ahead and grab that. So this is something that I've noticed, and not only noticed, was running into previously with our program here. So let me go back to So here we are, and we've already made it Montserrat alternate black, but it's not updated here. So go ahead and let's just delete these. You can click on either insert and go down to placeholder here, title, subtitle, or body, or you can go on to this text box icon, and we can either place just a regular text box, we'll get to that at the end, or a placeholder. We'll start with the placeholder. It doesn't really matter where you place it or anything like that, but notice already Arial 14. Look how tiny this is. This is Arial 14. So already it's captured the style. Same with our previous slide. Our previous slide is maintaining its overrides, the sizing, but it has changed its style. So let me go ahead and grab this Montserrat alternate black, and I had this at 24. Okay, great. So now it's updated in all places here. This Montserrat is 38 because the sizing is a override, but now this one is Montserrat 24, even though it's registering as Arial. I don't know. Is that something based on the overrides? At any rate, it doesn't matter because well, why is that? Let's see. So it's displaying as Montserrat, but it's capturing it as Arial. Let me go ahead and delete that. When I pull this in, it pulls in as Montserrat, and it seems to be displaying as Montserrat in the at the bottom. Okay, just some weird oddities. Again, I don't know exactly why Google Slides has some issues with this. Based on what I did, so we'll switch up the order. If your layout slide is created and you change the master and the layout slide doesn't change, delete the stuff on the master, put that stuff back in. If you delete the stuff on the master and for some reason your layout slides are still acting up, delete the stuff on the layout slides, and then pull in your placeholder again. I'll just pull in another title text here, and it should adopt the style of the master. So weird stuff there. We ran into that issue last week. One of the things that we'll take a look at here. So we just added in some guidelines here from our master, but in this case, let me go ahead, 50. That'll be a good number. So I've dragged another guide from the master. I'll drag up our text and place it right there. That's good enough. So now it's 50 from the top based on the master guide, and I'll just drag this one in 50 from the side ish, blah blah blah. Close enough. Subtitle placeholder, drag one of those in. So now we got some subtitle text. You can move that over as you like, style it. We'll get to styling in a second. But for the most part, we are, one moment, almost done with this styling here. So we just have a title and subtitle text, and we can go ahead and add in a body text as well. So this will bring in just some weird levels thing. I don't know why it does that, but when we do it over here, it'll look better. So going back into our theme builder. So now it's our second slide done. Let me go ahead and right click on this, duplicate the slide layout, because I want another slide that's almost like this but in our brand theme. So let me go ahead, I right clicked on the slide, duplicate layout. So now that's this layout here. Right click on an empty space and go to change background, and then make this the coral. Yay, so now we have a coral slide, and because I've been using some white text on coral, let me go ahead and make that white. So now we have our gray background, and we now have a coral one. So let me go ahead and click below my slides. If you click in between, you'll notice that the little cursor for that either highlights a slide. Right now it's highlighted in blue. That blue line will find its way in between the slides. Control M or Command M on a Mac will create a new slide, or you can also right click and do new layout. And with that, we'll go into our next slide here, which is going to be a diagonal design. That diagonal design, give me 1 second. We're going to get a little bit fancy with it because it's sometimes a little tough to work with some of the things we want to do, but it's made easy when we, one, think outside the box, and two, use shapes. So in this case, I'm going to come up to the top, grab a triangle shape. I'll grab this one. Go ahead. Oh, I just want to just stay facing one direction. I don't know. So we have our triangle, and we want to have a shape that moves from left to right, and it will go basically over the edge of the canvas. So we don't want any white to be showing along the edges. And if you know about any type of print or anything like that, you're looking at bleed. And what bleed is your shape is going to be larger. The area that you're working with is going to be larger than what you actually want to show up on the page. So because of that, go ahead and we'll zoom out, control option or control alt and minus key to zoom out. And now we can have extra room to kind of maneuver, drag out our shape, make it larger, change the color, make it coral, get rid of the stroke because I am a stickler like that. Control option left bracket. So you do have to deal a little bit with the ugliness of it going off the edge of the page, but small price to pay because it won't appear in the final result. And in this case, let's say that we're doing something where we need Go ahead and undo that. There we go. Now we should have two titles here. And basically, we have an offset type of color scheme here. So with this, you'll be able to do a little bit of fanciness that, let's say you had two different points to make. You can make one in the white area, you can make one in the coral area. And they'll both be based on the style. And so that's our fourth style down. So now we're gonna add two more very quickly. So just to make one more new one. It's inheriting some of the style from the master. That's okay. I'm going to move this over, move it up a little bit. And if I wanted to, and this would be actually a better example. Let's say that I want it to kind of match what I've done over here. Right now, I don't have my master matching this layout here. So I would like to duplicate this gray slide because I want it to show up in the same, I want the title to show up in the same spot. So right click on it, duplicate. So now I have two gray ones here. Okay, but I'm going to change one. So let me go ahead and change the background. I'm just going to switch it back to white. It'll be the theme white. So if I ever change that white, again, it will change an update on this page. Just be mindful of that. You might want to just pick regular white. You might want to pick the theme white if you want updates, etc. And what I'm going to do here in this case, I'm also going to add in. So now the title, click to edit the title slide or title style is in the same spot. The subtitle and all that is in the same spot. That's great. I'm just going to add in a little divider line, left to right. And now I can move this, and this divider line is specific to this page. Okay. So I don't have anything else to really do here. This is, it's got this border, which I can actually get rid of since it's a white border on a white page. You can't see it anyway. I can get rid of it. And now I've run into a bit of a dilemma here because now we have our master, our main. So let me go ahead and start doing this. Actually, no, before I do this, I will show you how it's showing up over here. So in the layouts here, it's actually showing up in order. I have the title slide, custom layout 1, custom layout 1.1, custom layout 1.2, blah, blah, blah. And it's all in order from how I have it. Or actually, it's in order from how I had it. I don't know exactly how it's, well, it's doing its own thing is what I'm trying to say. Custom layout 1, custom layout 1.1, custom layout 1.2, because it was a copy of custom layout 1, but it was the second copy of custom layout 1. And then we had, and even though this one, custom layout 1.2, was the last one we created, it's actually fourth in this ordering. Custom layout 2, custom layout 3. But I kind of hate those names. So what we can do is we can go into the theme and we can actually rename our stuff as well. We'll keep this title slide. Instead of custom layout 1, we'll call this gray slide. We'll call this one main content. We'll call this one coral slide. We'll call this one half and half. And for this extra one that we have, this one's going to actually be a thank you slide. So when you want to finish your presentation, it's always good to kind of end on, a happy note. But in this case, what I'm going to do, this one is going to always be a thank you slide. So I could bring in the title placeholder, and that will give me a good launch point. Again, if I don't want to start by reformatting everything, etc. But in this case, what I want this slide to do, I want this slide to say thank you. I want that to be static. I want that to be a person just clicks on this slide layout whenever they want to say thank you. It'll be big letters in the middle of the screen. They're not allowed to edit that to say, F you or anything like that. So instead of doing that, what I'm going to do, get rid of this, bring in a regular text box. This time I'm going to have to style it, I believe. Thank you. And I'm going to Control Shift and the right chicken beak on the keyboard. Also where the period is located. Okay, so thank you in big letters. Control Shift E just to center it. Looks very nice. I'm going to arrange center on page horizontally. And let's see what vertically looks like. Yeah, good enough. All right, so now this is regular text box on the page. I'm going to style it Montserrat Alternates Black. Make this a little bit bigger. All right, perfect. And I'm also going to just throw in a little flourish here. So grab me a shape. It's going to be a little line. It's going to be our theme color. That way people can have something to remember us by whenever our presentation is over. And I'm going to also center this on the page horizontally. It's going to kind of sit underneath. Thank you. Let me just pull this in a little bit. I want to kind of align with the end of the K. So now we have this thank you slide. So even as we go into our slide presentation and I edit these texts, I can do whatever I want here for the body. But if I pull in a new slide and give it the layout of, and here's where this comes into play. Now, although we haven't renamed the title slide, so that one's still showing up out of order, but first, everything else that we've renamed: Coral, this one's Custom, this one's Gray. We actually didn't rename the Custom one, but it's still showing up technically in order. Before, the order that was out of order was ordered based on the naming conventions of 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, and stuff like that. But point being, Coral slide, Custom layout, Gray, Half and Half, Main, these are now in alphabetical order. Which kind of brings us to, the end of our Alright, so the audio should be connected here, and is the audio connected here? Okay, it looks like it is. Alright, as I was saying, we can't reorder the theme slides, the master slides. And what that looks like, let me go ahead and show you. We go into Theme Builder, I can't click and drag any of these slides to where I want to put them. That is terrible for when you are feeling out of control in this situation. You're able to rename them and have them show up. Again, title slide was not named, but everything else, coral slide, custom layout, gray slide, those are now showing up in alphabetical order. And that's good. It's good for us. Apply layout. So now when you're outside of presentation mode, you will be able to see the larger shape. When you're in presentation mode, you won't be able to see the larger shape. It'll just go right off the canvas. And because I didn't edit anything, word 1 and word 2, you couldn't see that. You couldn't see the text, but now that we have that text set up, now when I go into full screen, now you can see it showing up. And furthermore, when we talk about fixed items, we're talking about this thank you slide. And so now that we've created the thank you slide, remember we created it with just a regular text box. I can't do anything to change any element of this slide. I can go ahead and add my own text to it, but that's alternate stuff that, so the point is that if you want to just keep this type of stuff consistent and you have these types of constant, slides like this, then you can go ahead and create it as you would a normal slide without placeholders. And this way, now you can keep a consistent slide every single time. Slides. So we have our theme builder. We've made 5 slides. We made a master. We made our title slide. And we've given it some text, just a title. We've given this one title, subtitle, and body. And that will show up throughout all of them. If you can edit that text on the actual slide, you can't edit it here. But just through some fancy footwork here, we've been able to create some nice slides that create a nice theme for our presentation. And in fact, let me go ahead and show you one last thing as I throw in a subtitle and give it Gloria Hallelujah. And so now, yes, it did. Now we have that actually showing up for the subtitles on our other pages. That looks nice when we actually bring it into presentation mode. It would if I didn't have random text there. But we were able to create 5 different slides, and not only did we create these slides, we also renamed them. We renamed the theme, so this one's my theme. And on top of all of that, we can go into File, New, Presentation, and we can, it won't show up here in this list. We can click on Import Theme. Now this, let me go ahead and rename this. I'm going to rename it. You should give it a weird, wacky name like exclamation point theme or something like that. Now we can go in and select previously made Google Slides, and with that we can now capture the theme that's within any of these. So you'll see a couple different untitles here. The one from that I created just as a test demo, a couple Designer's Corner ones, but there's the one that's called theme. Click on that. I'll double click on it, and it brings us to basically inside of the presentation. Sometimes these presentations hold like multiple themes in them. I don't exactly know how that works, but it shows us the theme that this one is holding within it, and we can go ahead and import that theme. So now we've gone ahead and imported that theme. We can now bring in those different layouts and start building our next presentation based on what we did previously. So this, so now we'll call this your company. This allows us to work so much easier tick marks in the corner, these little flourishes that, you know, we don't want other people who are less experienced to mess with or to accidentally mess up. Create a new shape, and then just simply pick out from our theme colors that we already set. So that's great. And then on top, okay, there we go. Then on top of that, we also have a general launch point, so that if we ever need to update our themes or our colors or our what we're working with, we can more easily do that based off of the stuff that the theme provides us with, either the placement or the fonts that it brings in, and that makes it much better. So then we also need to look at when not to use a theme. And when not to use it is when we want to control the elements. You know, we want to have specific control over the elements, or we want to have non-conforming slides. So these are slides that deviate from the normal design. These might be blank slides that you bring in just to import a graph or a chart onto it. If you want a full-scale chart or graph just as the hero of the page, and if you want to just go through it the hard way. So again, don't use a theme if you're a glutton for punishment and you want to have to take these measurements, do this work over and over and over again, and do it the hard way. Otherwise, you can simply click on Import Theme, grab your last template or presentation, and then use that theme with all of the same components that you set up in the first place, or that someone else, you know, set up for you. And that way you don't have to start from square one. So that brings us finally to the end of this lesson. It's been an intense journey, but this is important stuff to know because this will be a great lesson for understanding, you know, how to not only design but present too. Presentation is critical as a designer because you want to be able to get across your ideas and your messages, and to be able to work with Google Slides or some other any other presentation software like PowerPoint. You know, understanding these things will help you out tremendously and will make you that much better, that much more useful in the long run. So thank you very much for joining us for this episode of Designer's Corner. Hope you learned something today. I hope you stay motivated and can use any of these tactics in your own place of work. And I hope you can, you know, speed up your productivity, impress people with how well you know Google Slides. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and make sure you share this with someone else who might benefit from it. So thank you very much for showing up. I'll see you next time. And as always, the appendix has links to any of these softwares that you might want to play with. All right, see ya.